Shri Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopisa Kanta, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Brahmamai, Hari Priya, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Today we are going to do the Bhagwad Gita chapter 2 verse 57. यह सौत्राणानि वस्त्रहेषु परपताते शुभाशुभम नाभिनंदित न देष्टि तस्य प्रजा प्रतिष्ठता. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Purport. There is always some upheaval in the material world, which may be good or evil. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil, because this world is full of duality. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil, because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good absolute. Such consciousness in Krishna situates one in a perfect transcendental position called technically Samadhi. Verse 58. Yada samharate chayam kurmo ganini sarvashah indriyani indriyasya bhastahya pragya pratishtata. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport. The test of a yogi, devotee or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servant of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the serpent like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and the don'ts, restricted oneself from the sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time of particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious person are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keep the senses within. Now this is a very important part to understand how to control the senses. And unless we understand senses objectively, and if we can see the senses from a distance, senses will never come into control. And to look at the senses, the desires, there are particular abhyasa. yogic kriyas and practice that we do in Amoksha and also taught by many other religions. Like, for an example, a very easy example is look at the thought that comes in your mind, keep observing it, and keep looking at the thought, what kind of shape it is taking, and let the thought go away. Do not go ahead with that thought. The mind, like a monkey, will climb the branches of thoughts from one thought to another thought, one branch to another branch. What you have to do is to look at the monkey going from one branch to another. That means from one thought to another. Do not try to stop the monkey, the mind. Do not try to fuel the monkey, the mind. Just observe it. Just be the witness. And this way you can actually start seeing your senses. So there is a practice. In the morning, you just do your yoga, you do your meditation, and then for at least 15 minutes, just observe all your senses one by one. If you can observe your ears, the hearing sense, or you open your eyes, look at the scene in front of you, observe anything what comes in your vision. Similarly, the tongue. And most effective is the observing the thoughts. So you close your eyes and observe your thoughts. Don't stay with the thoughts, just stay as a witness. Let the thought come and let that thought go away. Once you master this, then definitely once the senses would try to come and give you that illusion to fulfill those desire, like a sense would come and try to make you buy something or make a decision to buy a LCD or anything. You have to look at the thought, the alluring thought coming in your mind to purchase something and let it go away. You don't have to fuel that thought. You have to let it go away. And life is so beautiful, Maya is so beautiful that every day, every second, it will give you the opportunities to make you learn. Like you're sitting in your living room watching TV, and suddenly your senses would say, let me sit in a right posture. Stop there. Why to sit in a right posture? Whatever posture you are is the right posture. Try to start observing the sense of that sense gratification of sitting in a right posture, maybe getting a pillow at the back or something. That's again a sense gratification. Stop there, control it, and then become confident, uh, be at ease, but try to put the markers in your senses. Senses again would say, okay, now I need some water to drink or maybe a tea. Hold on, I need to validate you. Put the witness there. Put the witness to validate your mind that, okay, it is a sense, but I will validate. Krishna will validate. Then only that sense would go ahead. So you start with the easy going, and suddenly you will start having a very difficult senses, the alluring one, like for someone who is a alcoholic, he may have a sense of taking alcohol, or a smoker to have a smoke, and those are very tempting. Then that is the real pariksha and the real thing. So don't start from the tough one, but start practicing at the bottom one, and you will definitely get a distance from the senses. So first of all, try to understand the sense. Unless and until आप अपने दुश्मन को नहीं जानते अच्छे से, आप उसे हरा नहीं पाएंगे. सो सेंस के साथ नहीं रहना और सेंसेस को सिर्फ कृष्णा के साथ लगाना है, ये हाई लेवल पे बहुत अच्छी बात लगती है, लेकिन जब तक आप सेंसेस को ऑब्जेक्टिफाई करके अपने सामने नहीं देखने लग जाते, सेंसेस आपके अंदर जैसे पानी में कोई रंग मिला हुआ, आपको पता ही नहीं चलता कि ये लाल रंग का पानी है या पानी है और लाल रंग है। तो उस वजह से आपको इन दोनों को डिफरेंशिएट करना ही पड़ेगा। दिस इज द मस्ट थिंग। We go on to the verse number 59, oh sorry, 58. यदा संहरते चायम कुर्मो सर्वक्षः. I think we already have read this 58. 59. विश्य विनिरन्ते निरहस्य देहिनहं रजसे रसोभ्या परम दष्टा निरोधते. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense object remains. But ceasing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Same thing is said here. Purport. Unless one is transcendently situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulation is something like restricting a diseased person from certain type of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has to taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life, but such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he is automatically loses his taste for pale things. It's a very crucial words that, and it's obvious once you have the taste of Krishna consciousness and then you start feeling Krishna and Radha around you, then you will not like to have any other taste in this material world. And that is practically very valid, because the Radha and Krishna love is the supreme love. There is no comparison of such love. That's why if someone is Vrindavan or someone is not in Vrindavan but stays in Vrindavan in his own observations, their kind of love is totally amazingly different. So until that situation, until that blessing coming to you where you are in love or in true relationship with Radha Krishna, either you have that sense objectification and subjectification and you try those exercises as I told, or you do the yoga, pranayam and try to control the mind and the body and try to control the senses. Any which way, the a control would be required, but for the blessed one, there is no control. Then there is no sense justification, there is no watch of sense, the watch like a watchdog is required, because then there is a love spontaneously coming from Radha Krishna. And that can come from chanting Hare Krishna. If you chant Hare Krishna and then if you're doing it for a continuous time, you will see that love and affection and the blessings coming to you, and there is a high possibility that you connect with that nectar of love. But if you're not able to, then try all the possibilities, because reaching out to Krishna is the one of the key. It doesn't matter with which with which support you reach, whether from the pranayam, yoga, or from chanting, or from sense objectification. Try to reach to Krishna. That is the key. Verse number 60. Yatato vapi konte purushasya vishviktah indriyani prathmani haranti prasabhavam manha. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. Purport: there are many learned sages, philosophers, and transcendentalists who try to conquer the senses, but in spite of their endeavors, even the greatest of them sometimes fall victim in material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. Even Vishwamitra, a great sage and perfect yogi, was misled by Menaka into sex enjoyment. Although the yogi was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of penances and yoga practice. And of course, there are so many similar instances in the history of the world. Therefore, it is very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious, without engaging the mind in Krishna. One cannot see such material engagements. A practical example is given by Yamunacharya, a great saint and devotee, who says, since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it, and I spit at the thought. Krishna consciousness is such a transcendently nice thing that automatically material enjoyment becomes distasteful. It is as if a hungry man had satisfied his hunger by sufficient quantity of nutritious eatables. Maharaja Amrisa, who conquered a great yogi, Durvasa Muni, simply because his mind was engaged in Krishna consciousness. Verse 61. तानि सृणनानि समयस्य युक्त आसीत् ममपत्रः वश्यो यन्द्रस्मन्द्रियाणि तस्य pragya pratishthata. One who restrain his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. Purport: that the highest conception of yoga perfection is Krishna consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvasa Muni picked a quarrel with Maharaja Ambrasya, and Dev and Durvasa Muni unnecessarily become angry out of pride and therefore could not check his senses. On the other hand, the king, though not as powerful a yogi as the sage, but a devotee of the Lord, silently tolerated all the sages' injustice and thereby emerged victorious. The king was able to control his sense because of the following qualifications as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. King Ambrasya fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, his body in touching the body of the devotee, his nostril in smelling the flavor of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him, his legs in travelling to the holy places where his temple is situated, his head in offering obeisance unto the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. And all these qualifications made him fit to become Matpara, devotee of the Lord. The word Matpara is most significant in this connection. How one can become Matpara is described in the life of Maharaja Ambrasa. Srila Baldev Vidya Sunaja, a great scholar of Acharya, in the line of the Matpura, remarks, mad bhakti, parabhavana, sarvadharya vijana purvika, sautama drishta savhati bhavaha. The senses can be completely controlled only by the strength of the devotional service to Krishna. Also, the example of fire is something given. As a blazing fire burns everything within a room, Lord Vishnu, situated in the heart of the yogi, burns up all kinds of impurities. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu and not meditation on the void. The so-called yogis who meditate on something other than Vishnu simply waste their time in a vain in search after some phantasmagoria. We have to be Krishna conscious, devoted to the personality of Godhead. This is the aim of real yoga. We'll start with the verse 60. यततो ह्वापि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विक्षिप्तः इंद्रियाणि प्रथमानि हरणि प्रसवमन्. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcefully carry out the mind in the man discrimination who is enduring to control them. Purport: there are many learned sages, philosophers, and transcendentalists who try to conquer the senses, but in spite of their endeavors, even the greatest of them sometimes falls victim to the material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. Now the 62. Verse 62. Dehato Vishnuspamsah Sangas Pujayate Sangat Sujate Kamaha Kamakrodhe Bhajayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachments lust develops, and from lust anger arises. Purport: one who is not Krishna conscious is subject to material desires while contemplating the object of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of other demigods and heavenly planets, is subject to the influence of sense objects, and the only method to get out of the puzzle of the material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridasa Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi, but Haridasa easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for the spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression, is sure ultimately to fail, for the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his desires. And this is true because if you are controlling your mind, but internally, if you have still the desires, serpents catching, and you are just controlling it, then there would be a trigger in life where the control would be away and the desires would win over you. And that what happens to most of us, where we have where we see that we can control our anger for a specific person or set of person, or we can control the bad habit of smoking or something, but then one situation comes, gives a trigger, and then we forget everything and then we fall. Thus because the root cause of that problems remains there. So to get rid of the senses, it is not easy to control. The only way out of it is to root it out. And once those bad sense gratification habits or subconscious mind conventional links, they are removed from the conscious and subconscious brain, then only, and then also, they are not only removed, but also uh, there are high taste that is developed for Radha Krishna, then only the actual process of something good will start. Because unless and until there is a replacement, the mind will again start finding the roots and will try to find something or any other thing from the soil of thoughts and can bring out those outrooted memories as well. So that's why it's very essential that the bad things, bad stuff should be rooted out and the new stuff of Radha Krishna love should be there. Now, why only Radha Krishna love? Why not something else? Like people would say, if you want to get rid of a relation, have a new relation. But then what will happen to that relation? That relation will also give you some kind of problem in near future. Then again, you will have another relation. That's the way the entire life will go. And at the end, Radha Krishna would say, how much time you devoted to me. So if we devote right now for the right thing to Radha Krishna, we would have more time and less pain, no pain, I would say. That is the crux. So focus to be on the right place. Otherwise, senses are very hard to be controlled. Verse 63. Krodhavati samoha samoha hasit vishruvam samriti shadravas vinasho buddhi nash pratishyate. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Purport. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this direction. By development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna consciousness artificially try to avoid material objects, and as a result, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so called renunciation is called Falgu, or less important. On the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For an example, for an impersonalist, the Lord, or the Absolute being impersonal, cannot eat, whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables. A devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So, after the offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus, everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of a downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas the non devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist therefore cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation, and for this reason, a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. Verse number 64. राग देश विमुक्त सतु विषयनेन्द्रिय धीरणन आत्म वश्य सदृसमा प्रसाद में गच्छते. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. Purport. It is already explained that one may externally control the senses by some artificial process, but But unless the senses are engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is every chance of a fall. Although the person in full Krishna consciousness may apparently be on the sensual plane because of his being Krishna consciousness, he has no attachment to the sensual activities. The Krishna conscious person is concerned only with the satisfaction of Krishna and nothing else. Therefore, he is a transcendentalist to all attachment and detachment. If Krishna wants, the devotee can do anything which is ordinarily undesirable, and if Krishna does not want, he shall not do that which he would have ordinarily done for his own satisfaction. Therefore, to act or not to act is within his control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. This consciousness is the causeless mercy of the Lord, which the devotees can achieve in spite of his being attached to the sensual platform. Verse 65. Prasade sarvadukhanam hani rasyopajayate parsanchatasaso vashu buddhiha paturisyate. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. Verse 66. Naste buddhirushyate na chayuktasya bhavana na chabhavyatah shanti shantasya kutuhu sukham. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendentalist intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Purport. Unless one is Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the fifth chapter that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penances, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of ultimate goal, and when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in the relationship with Krishna. That is very, very true. Because unless and until we are truly connected with Krishna, we may, out of fear, show that, or out of a fashion, we show that we are Hare Krishna or we are related to some kind of organization. It is not going to end up in any fruitful way unless and until there is a real relationship with Krishna. I have seen people going to temples and sitting there in order to be peaceful or in order to get some kind of solution for their existing problems, and they do all the austerities. But that is not what we are talking about. That is something which is good for the people, those they need some kind of help from God. But here, what we are talking about is when a true devotee, when he goes to a temple, it is just like going to the most beautiful place, meeting God in his love, in his lovely deities, and that is unbelievable, unbelievable. So let's close today. We did it for till 67. See you next time. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.